Hello, my name is Arthur Lavin. I'm a grandfather of four beautiful grandchildren, ages 3 to 11 years old, and I retired from practice of pediatrics a couple of years ago. I'm sharing my story with grandparents' vaccines to remind all Americans of what sort of diseases we're inviting back into our grandchildren's lives so we can act now to get them vaccinated and keep that door from opening to them again. The story I'd like to share today goes back to when I first came out of med school in my first few weeks of internship. That was before the days that ICUs were available, and so I was taking care of very sick kids in a general ward in a small room without the usual support of a modern ICU. And the story I remember is taking care of a beautiful 8-year-old boy who was infected with a germ called the meningococcus, and he had something called meningococcal sepsis. So this germ is a bacteria that can devastate the body, and it devastated him. It happens very quickly. Once you get infected, within a few hours, you're nearing death, and that's what happened to him. His whole body was covered with these agonizing rashes, patches of skin that were dying from this very rapid and deadly disease. And the reason I sat by his bedside for hours that day was because the germ had caused a precipitous drop in the amount of calcium in his blood. And without enough calcium in the blood, the electrical pulse that happens to the heart doesn't translate into the heart actually pumping. So you have this very horrifying situation where if you do an EKG, you'll see the squiggle lines of normal electrical activity. But even though there's an electrical pulse, the heart muscle doesn't move. You need the calcium for that electricity to be turned into muscle action. And so every few hours, his calcium level would drop, his heart would stop pumping, even though his EKG was normal. And I would sit by his bedside and push in a syringe full of calcium. That would temporarily jump his calcium level up to the point his heart would start beating again. So I sat by this poor 8-year-old boy's bedside as he lay dying. And every hour or so, I would infuse this calcium to keep him alive. But the disease was too far gone by the time he came to us, and he eventually succumbed to this germ, this meningococcus. We don't have meningococcal meningitis or sepsis in our kids anymore because of only one reason, the meningitis shot. And if everyone in the United States made sure their kids got the meningitis vaccine, these old memories I'm sharing with you today would not come back to life. And that's why I'm sharing them with you today, to really invite all the parents of the United States to make sure their kids are protected. And we're asking all grandparents and Americans across the United States to go to grandparentsforvaccines.com, hit the button to join, fill in the box with your story. I shared mine. I hope you share yours. It could be someone in the family had one of these dread diseases, or someone you've heard about, or someone you cared for, like in my situation. But we look forward to hearing your stories. It's through our stories, I think, that we can move our national conversation back to where it should be, protecting our grandchildren and not putting them in harm's way. Thank you.